Listen closely to the silence of deep space. In the absolute dark, more than 24 billion kilometers away, a heartbeat is fading. 220 watts, that is all that remains. 220 watts, roughly the power of a few fragile household light bulbs, is the only thing keeping humanity's farthest outpost alive. We like to tell ourselves a comforting lie about Voyager 1. We call it an eternal traveler, a romantic ambassador sailing endlessly through the cosmic ocean. But do not be fooled. The physical reality is far more brutal. Voyager 1 is not an immortal explorer. It is a dying patient, drifting alone, slowly being taken off life support. Surrounded by a crushing emptiness, its radioactive heart is decaying, bleeding out precious fractions of a watt every single year. The engineers back on Earth are not navigating a grand voyage anymore. They are playing a desperate game of cosmic triage, amputating its senses, cutting power to its limbs just to keep the brain functioning for one more day. But the laws of physics cannot be negotiated. The countdown is irreversible. By the year 2030, the nuclear battery will finally drop below the threshold of survival. The last heater will fail. The bitter cold, minus 250 degrees Celsius, will flood through its titanium veins, freezing its circuits, silencing its transmitters forever. In just a few short years, it will no longer be a machine. It will become a blind, frozen, metallic mummy, a silent tombstone carrying the fading echoes of our existence, plunging into a void that simply does not care. Imagine the cold, not just the chill of a winter night, but a profound, absolute freezing of reality itself. Out here in the interstellar medium, the temperature sits at a merciless minus 250 degrees Celsius. For decades, the internal heaters of Voyager 1 fought back against this cosmic ice, keeping its mechanical body warm enough to function. But survival always requires a brutal sacrifice. To keep the failing radioactive heart beating just a little bit longer, the engineers back on Earth had to make a terrible choice. They had to start suffocating the machine. They had to pull the plug on its senses. One by one, the heaters and instruments were ordered to shut down. Think about the psychological horror of its blindness. The imaging cameras were permanently powered off in the year 1990. It turned around, took one final haunting photograph of a pale blue dot in the vast dark, and then it closed its eyes forever. It has been flying completely blind for more than 30 years. But the amputation did not stop there. The planetary radio astronomy instruments went silent. The ultraviolet spectrometers were killed off. The cosmic ray detectors are barely hanging on. Voyager 1 is no longer an intrepid explorer. It is a sensory amputee. It cannot see the stars it is flying toward. It cannot feel the solar wind. It is just a deaf and blind corpse hurtling through the terrifying dark at 61,000 kilometers per hour. And the physical reality of what is happening under its metal skin is horrifying. Without the heaters, the internal temperature has plummeted to fatal levels. Do not think of this spacecraft as a pristine, solid monument anymore. At these extreme cryogenic temperatures, physics becomes a nightmare. The metal chassis is not just cold, it is fundamentally changing. The thermal contraction is tearing the spacecraft apart from the inside out. The delicate titanium veins, The meticulously soldered electrical joints that carry the last whispers of humanity are becoming as brittle as fragile glass. The lubricant inside its moving parts froze solid decades ago. Every microscopic shift in the freezing dark threatens to shatter its internal organs. We sent our greatest mechanical achievement out into the stars, believing it would be perfectly preserved. But the universe is responding by slowly, methodically eating it alive. The freezing vacuum is not a peaceful ocean. It is a ruthless predator, and it is violently dismantling humanity's farthest touch, piece by frozen piece. And the most terrifying part is that Voyager 1 is not dying alone. When we launched these machines in 1977, harnessing the explosive fury of the Titan IIIe rockets, we were arrogant. We used the immense gravity of Jupiter and Saturn, stealing their planetary momentum to slingshot our fragile creations into the deep abyss. We believed we were building an immortal armada. We looked up at the night sky and crowned ourselves the conquerors of the solar system. But step back and look at the brutal cosmic reality today. What we actually created is a fleet of the dead. Pioneer 10, Pioneer 11, Voyager 1, Voyager 2. They do not form a grand fleet of exploration. They are a sprawling, invisible graveyard scattered across the darkest corners of the Milky Way. Pioneer 10 has already lost its battle. Its final, agonizing whisper was heard back in the year 2003, and now it is nothing but a silent ghost ship, plunging blindly toward the star Aldebaran. Voyager 2 is slowly suffocating, freezing to death just like its twin. Each of these machines is completely isolated, locked in its own personal nightmare, sharing only the horrifying sentence of mechanical decay. They will never find each other. They will never come home. But perhaps the greatest tragedy, the ultimate cosmic joke, lies bolted to the side of Voyager 1 itself, the golden record. We are taught to revere this gold-plated copper disc as our ultimate symbol of hope, a pristine time capsule containing the sounds of Earth, greetings in 55 human languages, and the delicate map to our home planet. We naively believe it will survive untouched for billions of years, waiting to be discovered by some benevolent alien civilization. We think we have secured our legacy, but out here in the brutal dark, physics does not care about our poetry. The interstellar medium is not a perfectly empty, peaceful vacuum. It is a hostile ocean, filled with a relentless storm of microscopic dust and violent micrometeorites. And Voyager 1 is tearing through this abrasive fog at over 17 kilometers per second. That is more than 61,000 kilometers per hour. At that terrifying velocity, a single grain of cosmic dust, smaller than a human hair, strikes the metal spacecraft with the kinetic energy of a bullet. Imagine the agonizing process of cosmic sandblasting. Year after year, century after century, this microscopic hail is violently bombarding the golden record. It is not preserving our message, it is methodically erasing it. The delicate grooves that carry the laughter of our children, the intricate etchings that show the way back to our sun, they are being violently scratched, gouged, and sanded down into meaningless metallic scars. This is not a slow, graceful aging process. It is a high-speed execution. Within just 250,000 years, the relentless friction of the cosmos will grind away the very surface of the disk. The greetings in 55 languages will be silenced forever. The music of humanity will be scraped into random static. And worse, the intense cosmic radiation, the high-energy protons flooding through the void, are slowly degrading the atomic structure of the copper itself. We did not send a beautiful message into the stars. We sent a fragile fossil, and we threw it directly into a cosmic meat grinder. This is the crushing reality of space archaeology. By the time any alien intelligence actually intercepts this dead machine, if they ever do, they will not find a poetic introduction to the human race. They will find a heavily scarred, battered piece of irradiated space debris, a ruined tombstone. They will look at the completely obliterated surface of the golden record, and they will learn absolutely nothing about who we were. The universe is not just killing our messenger. It is actively, violently erasing the very proof that we ever existed. That is the tragedy of today. But if we push the dial of time and watch the centuries turn into dust, a much more violent story begins to unfold. Fast forward 40,000 years, Voyager 1 is finally approaching another star, a dim red dwarf known as AC plus 793880. In our old myths, this was supposed to be a moment of grand contact. But look at the reality. There is no one left to celebrate. The machine is a frozen, lightless derelict, a piece of ancient space junk passing through a neighborhood that never knew we existed. It is a ghost ship, haunted by the silent voices of a species that has already begun to fade from memory. Keep moving the clock. 1 billion years into the future, the sun has swelled into a bloated, angry red giant, scorching the earth, boiling the oceans into a thick, toxic steam, and turning our entire history into charred, forgotten stone. Every skyscraper, every book, every bone of every human who ever lived has been recycled into solar fire. Out here in the freezing void, Voyager 1 is now the absolute last physical evidence that the human race ever breathed. It is our final, lonely witness, carrying the ghosts of 8 billion souls into a future of total, terrifying darkness. It is the only thing left that remembers we were once here. But the universe is not finished. It is a patient, relentless executioner. We enter the era of the Great Erasure. Trillions of years from now, even the smallest stars have flickered out, leaving the galaxy in a state of permanent, freezing night. The cosmos has become a vast, cold museum where every light has been extinguished. And then, the ultimate betrayal of physics begins. Proton decay. This is the end of all things. The very atoms that build the titanium frame, the gold plating of the record, and the radioactive heart of the machine, they begin to unravel, one by one. The subatomic particles that make up Voyager 1 dissolve into nothingness. The spacecraft does not just break apart, it vaporizes into a quantum mist of a dying cosmos. The gold disk, containing the laughter of our children and the music of our greatest composers, simply ceases to exist. The last record of humanity, the last echo of our species, is finally, irreversibly deleted from the fabric of reality. The archive is closed. The lights are gone. The silence is now absolute. Before its eyes were permanently shut, Voyager 1 looked back and captured a single, pale blue pixel in the dark. Look at that fading dot. Every brutal war you have ever read about, every empire that rose and fell, every human who ever lived and died, all confined to a microscopic speck of dust suspended in a sunbeam. We launched this machine out into the deep void to boast about our greatness, but instead it became a brutal mirror, revealing the terrifying insignificance of our ego. The universe does not care about our golden records. It does not care about our art or our mathematics. It will erase our footprint without a single thought. But perhaps that is exactly what makes Voyager 1 so incredibly magnificent. The sheer, desperate defiance of it all. We are a fragile, short-lived species, trapped on a dying rock that will one day be swallowed by its own star. Yet, despite knowing our ultimate fate, we still dared to build a metal messenger. We still dared to scream into the absolute dark, "We were here." The physical reality cannot be escaped. The radioactive heart will stop, the machine will freeze, and eventually the cosmos will grind it down into quantum nothingness. But the true legacy of Voyager 1 does not live in the cold, hostile vacuum of interstellar space. It lives right here, right now. The very fact that you are sitting here, breathing, feeling a profound sense of grief for a dying piece of metal 24 billion kilometers away, proves that the legacy is still alive. We are standing in the grand graveyard of the cosmos. Everything is fading. Everything is counting down to zero. But in a universe designed to permanently erase us, the fleeting privilege of simply being awake to witness the echo before it disappears into the dark is everything.